Okay, so you just got a study permit refusal from Canada. And look, I get it. It feels just awful, right? But hang in there with me for the next few minutes because we are going to transform that feeling of frustration into a rock-solid plan of action. Let's jump right in. And you know what? That feeling is 100% valid. It's so much more than just a piece of paper. It's a dream put on pause. This quote really just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? But listen, this is probably the most important thing you're going to hear today. A refusal isn't some permanent no. It's not personal. Think of it more like the immigration system saying, hey, what you sent us wasn't quite enough. We need more proof. And that's a problem we can totally fix. All right, so first things first, we've got to clear something up because not every no is the same kind of no. And understanding this difference, well, that's your first step to getting back in the driver's seat. Okay, so check this out. If your application was returned, that's actually good news. Seriously, it just means something simple was wrong. Maybe you forgot a form or paid the wrong fee. You just fix that little mistake, send it back in, and it's like it never happened. It doesn't even go on your record. A refusal, though, that's a different story. That means a real person, an officer, looked at your whole file and said no. And that decision is now officially part of your permanent immigration history. So if you did get that formal refusal, I'm willing to bet you're looking at a letter that is, well, it's just super generic and honestly not very helpful. And there's a really specific reason why. I mean, it's the question everyone asks, right? You've just poured your heart, soul, and probably a ton of money into this application. And what do you get back? A generic checklist with a couple of boxes ticked? It's like, how are you supposed to fix a problem when you don't even know what the real problem is? Well, the secret behind that vague letter is a piece of software called the Chinook tool. Seriously, officers aren't sitting there writing you a personal note. They're using this program, clicking on drop-down menus to pick reasons, and boom, it spits out that template letter. The whole system is designed for their speed, not for your understanding. So that leads to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If the letter they send you is basically useless, where on earth are the real reasons for the refusal hiding? The answer, the secret key, is something called GCMS notes. You got to think of these like the flight recorder, the black box of your application. This is the government's internal system where the officer types out their actual detailed thoughts. So instead of a checkbox that just says financial issues, the notes might say, I see a large deposit that showed up 1 week before applying. The source is unclear. See the difference? That's the information you need. Okay, so once you realize that the real answers are locked away in those notes, everything changes. You can finally stop guessing and start building an actual strategy. It's time to put on your detective hat. And here's your 3-step plan. Super simple. Step 1. Just give your refusal letter a quick look for the general idea. Step 2, and listen, this is the most important step. You absolutely cannot skip it. Request your GCMS notes. You can't fix a problem you can't see, right? And then, step 3, once you have those notes, that's when you build your strategy based on what the officer actually wrote. All right, so you've got the officer's notes in hand. Now what? Well, the fog starts to clear, and you're basically looking at 2 main paths forward. Okay, path A is reapplying. This is what most people do. You take what you learned from the GCMS notes, you gather new evidence that directly answers the officer's concerns, and you submit a much, much stronger application. Then there's path B, judicial review. This is a bit more intense. This is for when the officer made a decision that was unreasonable or unfair. You're basically taking IRCC to court and asking a judge to look at the decision for legal errors. And speaking of judicial review, something just happened that has completely changed the game for anyone thinking about that option. There's a brand new pilot project, and get this, it has cut the timeline for these reviews way, way down. What used to take maybe 14 to 18 months, a lifetime for a student, can now be done in under 5 months. That makes it a real viable option now, not just a last resort. And this chart really lays it all out for you. Just look at that first line. Getting your GCMS notes, it's about $5 and takes a month or 2. Honestly, it is the single best investment you can possibly make in this whole process. From there, you can see how the other options stack up. So you might be wondering, what kind of bombshells do people usually find in these GCMS notes? Let's talk about some of the most common reasons that even really strong-looking applications get a no. Okay, a big one is purpose of visit. This is where the officer just isn't buying that you're a real student. Maybe the program you picked looks like a step down in your career and they're suspicious. Then there's financials. A classic mistake is a huge lump sum of cash suddenly appearing in your bank account. If you can't prove where that came from, they get nervous. And finally, this tricky one called dual intent. You have to convince them that you have strong reasons to go back home after your studies, even if you also hope to stay in Canada one day. Of course, getting a refusal brings up all kinds of worries and fears about what this means for your future. So let's do a quick-fire round and bust some of those myths right now. Okay, ready? Do you have to wait to reapply? Nope, you can do it right away. But you absolutely have to bring new evidence. Are you banned from Canada now? No, not unless you were caught lying, which gets you a 5-year ban. Does this refusal affect your future applications? Yes, it does. You have to declare it every single time. And finally, can you appeal the decision? Well, there's no official appeal button, but that judicial review we talked about, that's your way to legally challenge it. So here's the bottom line. Your first application might have felt like a shot in the dark, but your next one doesn't have to be. A refusal is not a dead end. It's a fork in the road. It's your chance to stop guessing, get the real intel, and come back with a strategy so strong they can't ignore it. The power is back in your hands.